Hello and welcome back to the Julia the Knitter podcast. This is episode 30. This is a podcast mainly about knitting and whatever crafty bits I happen to be diving into during the week. I am coming to you live from Queens, New York, where I live with my handsome husband, my two crazy kids, and my wild beast of a dog who's currently trying to jump into my lap. Hi, welcome to anybody who is just joining us for the first time, and those of you who have been along for the ride for some time, welcome back, and I'm so glad that you're here. It's been a little while, and I feel like I have been saying that in every single episode, but it has been. This summer has been a crazy summer, so it's been hard to find a time to really sit down and record. The kids are home. There's just a lot of other stuff going on right now, and we are hoping to be moving in the near future. So there's been a lot of showing the place and open houses and that kind of stuff, and that really kind of has been eating away at my spare time. So there we are. But I just figured I would pop in here and show you what I've been working on. The lighting is not going to be great. I am recording in the evening. I'm sorry. I don't have great lighting in this apartment on a good day. But you know, you do what you gotta do. I'm just going like this whole episode. So, alright, so, do you want to say hi? Alright, here's Saoirse. Saoirse's gonna say hi. Thank you. I know, you are such a mush. Okay, go lay down. Go to bed. Okay, so where were we? These were finished the last time we spoke. These are the Shell Cottage socks. Now I probably should have looked up the name before I sat down. But these were the first pattern released in Curious Handmade Secret Sock Society, and they were finished last time. I just had not blocked them or woven in any of the ends, so I figured I'd show them off again. The yarn was a sock set by the Red Pansy in her Elizabeth Bennet colorway. She was releasing a lot of different sock sets inspired by some of the amazing heroines of Jane Austen, and let's face it, I cannot resist Jane Austen. What are you gonna do? Let's see if I could show these off real nicely. The pattern itself is a real gorgeous, simple kind of lace pattern. There you go, you can kind of see it. The main color looks kind of brownish, but it really isn't. It's almost like a deep, maybe it's brown with like mauve, I don't know how to say that word, mauvey undertones. And it's got little pinks in there, and the contrasting heel is this light blush pink, and it's got little plums, and there's chartreuse, and there's browns and pinks, and it's nice. And it feels really good. These are going to be the first bit of Christmas knitting that is off my needles. Yay! I know, I'm starting so early. Every year I say, oh, I gotta start early. I'm doing it this year. So these are finished. These are gonna be for my daughter. And I like the way they came out. I don't think I would knit this pattern again. I tend to be a one and done kind of pattern knitter. That's not necessarily true. Around Christmas sometimes I'll knit a few of the same thing, like back to back to back, just to get them out. With socks, it's not always that way. Well, I guess I do vanilla socks all the time. But I did find, as beautiful as this pattern is, I did find that towards the end I was like, all right, I'm kind of tired of doing this little repeat. So, well, by the time I got really finished, really, like, I was starting to get a little, tired of it. I was ready to do the foot, and the back side of the foot has the stockinette. So, excuse me, it wasn't too bad, but they came out really nice. I'm glad to have Christmas Christmas sock pair number 1 done. Now, I had a bit of yarn left over, and it has become not a tradition, but it's becoming, this will be the 2nd year in a row that my son and daughter will be receiving matching socks for Christmas. Now, they're not necessarily matching as in the same pattern, but they are knit with the same yarn. I did a different contrasting sock, different contrasting cuff, heel, and toe, but it's the same main color. So this is the red pansy Elizabeth Bennet colorway. Again, I just did a vanilla sock with a heel flap and gusset. The color, if you recall, is from my Coast Range socks. It was a test pattern that I did recently. It was So Happy. Sorry guys, I will put little notes here somewhere along the bottom so you can see what it is. But it's this lovely dark teal. It's a yak base, yak and merino, I believe. I probably should have looked before I talked about it, but I didn't. They are both done. 1 and 2. This one's actually inside out because I started to weave in ends. As you see, the ends are not woven in on either of these, but the socks themselves are finished. So that's 2nd pair of Christmas socks almost done. On the topic of Christmas knitting, I guess I will tell you about my most recent cast on, and these are a pattern by Danny of the Little Bobbins podcast. A few years ago, I guess at this point, I was looking to see if maybe the year was on the bottom of the pattern. A few years ago, Danny had released a collection of sock patterns that were inspired by her engagement ring. And I think there's 3 or 4 patterns in the collection. But anyway, one particular pair was called the Cyril Socks. And I felt that of the socks in that collection, I felt that they were the only pair that really lent itself to being worn by a man. I feel like in this day and age, maybe that's not something like you can say, but I felt like it had a certain, I don't know, a certain something that my husband would go for. There you go. It was up my husband's alley. So it is a pretty simple pattern. I don't know why I'm fussing around the papers. So I'm going to put that down. It's the Cyril Socks. And I am knitting them up in this gorgeous yarn. Is this it? Yes. By Sweet Sparrow Yarns. Come on, you guys know how much I love Sweet Sparrow Yarns. Her yarns are just gorgeous. And she's got this owl base. Owl, O-W-L. For those of you who just are sitting here listening to my New York accent and like, what is she saying? I don't know. But owl. And the color is Pomona. And now this base is a 70% superwash merino, 20% yak, 10% nylon. And it is this beautiful, dark, I guess slate gray. Here's the wall, so you can kind of see it. Like I said, my lighting's not going to be great because it is nighttime. There you go. And these socks are, I'm doing 2 by 2 at a time at the moment. So I'm just kind of untwisting everything. But here you can kind of see the leg. Okay. So it's this simple rib. And every so often you have these little cabled stitches. So it's just a little crossover. So it kind of gives you like the outline of a rounded square. It's really nice, and it's got a nice eye of partridge heel, which is, I think, is always a nice feature. And this yarn is really showing it off, I feel. It's got a really nice feel to it. It feels luxurious. It's got a real nice soft feel, but it also feels sturdy. Does that make sense? it makes sense in my head. But I think that they will wear really nicely. I think they will block really nicely. In case you're wondering, I am knitting the largest size that the pattern calls for, which is, I believe, 72 stitches around. And I'm knitting these up on my US size 1.5 needles. They're really gorgeous. I'm really loving it. I turned the heel on one sock this morning, and I'm about to start turning the heel on the second sock. I do like to knit my socks 2 at a time. That does change now and again. Sometimes I do 1 at a time. Sometimes I do DPNs. But that's that. I've really been enjoying them. Now I can't always work on them because, as they are going to be a Christmas present for my husband, I cannot knit on them while he is around. Because, I mean, I guess at this point we've been together for quite some time. I'm sure he knows that I'm going to knit him a pair of socks for Christmas, as I do just about every year. But that doesn't mean I want him to see the socks or know what they are. I still like to maintain that air of surprise. It's a pair of socks. Oh, they're gorgeous. Why, thank you. Where did these come from? I don't know. There you go. So those have been in the works, and they have been awesome. And while I have been not working on those in the evening, while my husband is, after the kids go to bed, and I'm sitting there watching TV with him and doing what we do and hoping, itching to work on something, I've actually been putting in a few rows on my crochet granny stripe blanket. Let me go run and grab it. I'll show you. It's a few rows. It's always a lot more than it looks like. Does that make sense? Here, let me go run and grab it real quick. Okay. So, this is my fingering weight, very scrappy crochet granny stripe blanket. I cast this on quite some time ago. I think it's about 2 years. 2 years at this point that I've been, working on it here and there. It's a nice little cozy project. I tend not to work on it as much in the summer because it's a blanket. It's hot. I don't really want a big blanket sitting on me in the summer. So, although I do find myself drawn more to crochet in the summer. Go figure. I don't know. I can't explain this logic. I'm a weirdo. But anyway, this is the bottom. I cast it on, I think, I want to say, it's 300 something stitches. 325? I don't know. I know I have it written down in my notes on Ravelry. If you look at the project page, it's been a long time. 325 or 364. One of those numbers sounds right. I don't know. But anyway, so I have been putting, different scraps from other projects. Like, for example, this green right here was leftovers from the yarn that I knit my husband's tie for our wedding. This is hand spun from my son's hat. This is hand spun from a shawl. There's different minis in here. All different kinds of colors and leftovers from socks and what have you. So I think the last time, hold on, let me just kind of do this so the stitch doesn't fall out. All right, so I believe the last time I showed this off. Now, it's very long because it is long enough to fit across my queen size bed, and it is not going to fit in this entire thing, but it's very large. And this is it, top to bottom. Last time you saw this, it was probably maybe down here, this brownish color. But I've since added in quite a bit more. This purple was really nice. That was from, I believe, the Homespun House Advent Calendar last year, one of the minis. I have not been very good about using my minis, and it's not that I don't want to. I do. I just don't want to wind them all up. So it's that really has been the deterrent. So winding them all up. So I've been getting quite a bit of work done here. Maybe I'll get a little closer. You can kind of see some colors going this way a little bit better. But you know, it's just been a project that I work on here and there. It's got some hand spun, it's got some fingering. There's been, you know, maybe a few DKs that I've thrown in there and kind of finagled so they match up. But it's been really nice working on that again. And I wound up some of my minis so that this way they're there and they're ready. And I've got some scraps coming from projects that I've been working on. And that is that I am using, let's see, a G hook. And I got this ergonomic, it's Clover, I believe. Yes, Clover. It's not Michael's, but it's got a nice, like, it's supposed to be an ergonomic hook, so it's a little softer. I do find that it doesn't hurt my hands as much. Maybe I grip it too tightly, but I find that the regular crochet hook, I don't know, my fingers tend to hurt a little bit after a little bit. But this, it's got a little bit of cushioning there, so it's nice. It's a G hook, which is 4 millimeters, and I like it. That's all. That's all I had to say about the granny stripe blanket. I mean, everybody and their mother has worked on one at some point, and I just like that it's a way to use up leftovers. Now, I know you're all sitting here wondering why I have not brought up my threshold sweater. That's because I got distracted, but I got waylaid by talking about other things. My threshold sweater is done. Done. I'm not going to try it on because it's hot and I don't want to go get changed because it's late and I'm tired and that's it. So you're just going to have to, use your imagination. And I'm sure you will see it as the weather starts to cool off. It actually feels a little fallish, autumnal, if you will, outside today. It's warm. It's a little humid because I think we're supposed to get some rain tomorrow, but it's just a feeling in the air. Like, oh, it's coming. Excited. I like the fall. It's my favorite. But anyway, I'm looking forward to being able to wear the sweater. So my threshold sweater, this is a pattern by Melanie Berg, and it is a top-down sweater with drop sleeves, and it is knit up. The color is not coming off correctly, and I'll explain that in a bit. But it is knit up in O-wool fingering, O-wash fingering. I don't know. It's their superwash fingering weight yarn in their Northern Cardinal colorway. So it's this deep red. Let me see. Maybe if I add a little white here, my white balance, maybe that's a little better. I don't know. It's hard to kind of get a good red to come across on camera. But it's coming off a little more orangey. It's actually got more of a blue undertone than this, but it's got this gorgeous texture all across the front. You see the diamonds, they're like stockinette on top and pearl on the bottom. That goes all the way down. So a little bit of a boxy sweater. It's got an uneven, it's a little bit longer in the back and shorter in the front, an uneven hem, is that what they call it? And it's got a split hem on both sides, and I actually really like that feature. I added a 1/2 inch to the sleeves before I started the textured part on the sleeves and the ribbing. So my sleeves are a little longer, and that's just the way I like them. It is a boat neck on top, and it was actually a really interesting construction. So you knit the top ribbing flat, and let me tell you, purling through the back loop is not my jam. I don't love it. So I was really looking forward to getting to the knitting in the round, and but there really wasn't that many. Most of the ribbing is done flat, so I didn't really save myself anything. But anyway, so you cast on and you knit this rectangle, and then you pick up some stitches here, and this becomes your shoulder seam, and you create the neckline. See that? Not really, but anyway, then you knit down a few inches, so you have a rectangle. It kind of looks like a tissue box, you know, a rectangle with a hole in the middle, and then you eventually join in the round, and you knit down. You know, you knit in the round, and you do your pattern. It's minimal waist shaping. It actually looks really nicely on. And then you add the sleeves at the end. And the sleeves, since it's a drop sleeve, the sleeves start like about here, so there's less sleeve to do. So Sleeve Island was not as much of a chore as you would have thought. And actually the sleeves flew by. Maybe because since I wasn't working the texture the whole way through, it was just easy stockinette in the round. It was just boom, 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 bam. But anyway, it's awesome. It looks great on, and it really came out nicely. I'm really looking forward to cooler weather so I can wear it like every day because I love it. And that's that. So that is my threshold sweater. So once I cast that off, I was working on all these little projects, and it's like, wow, they're just like flying off my needles. I want something that's gonna last a little while longer. So, I'm sitting here making my Christmas knitting plans, and, what do I want to knit for this one, and I have started swatching for a sold out crop. Now, this is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter of Moylan Knits fame. Everybody has been knitting her patterns in the last year, and this is actually the first time that I've cast one on. I plan to add some length to it, just because that's just me. It's a little short, I think, but I'm not sure how much length. Will I keep it a little shorter? I don't know. We'll see. But I swatched, and then I swatched, and I swatched some more. So I'll talk to you about my swatches. So first I did the pattern. You're supposed to swatch ink the color work using the main needle, which the pattern calls for a US size 5. And it's knit up in DK weight yarn, and I have a kit from Colorful Eclectic yarn. And so it's some blues with this, nice shush, sunshine, yellow. There's a dog outside. Shh, go to bed. Go to bed. Let's see if that works. But anyway, so when you are going to be knitting in the round, your gauge could be a little bit different as opposed to knitting flat. So you should swatch in the round, which is always a pain. So anyway, I did my first swatch with the US size 5 needle. And while the fabric is really nice, I like the way it came out, I was just not getting the stitch gauge. I think I was about ½ an inch off. So I'm like, all right, maybe wishful thinking, a US size 6 will solve the problem. And now, while my next two swatches are still a little damp, they're not completely dry, so I have to measure them, but I think that the 6 is going to be still slightly too small, but the fabric is really nice. I like the drape of it, and I like the feel of the way the stitches are, but that was the US size 6. And then to be on the safe side, I cast on a size 7, US size 7 swatch. And I'm not sure I like the fabric of the US 7, the fabric that's produced. I feel like it might be a little too holey, if that makes sense. Just a looser gauge than I really like. So what I may do is, I'll measure them again once they're dry, and See, the 7 actually really added some length to it. I'll see. Since the pattern it does call for a certain amount of ease. It's meant to have like 1 to 4 inches of ease. And I think if I were to knit it to gauge, I would have about 4 inches of ease, of positive ease, which means it's a little bit bigger than my actual measurements. And that might be a little too much. So I gotta look at how off it'll be if I do the 6 inch. Because I think with that, I don't know, that might be too much. I don't know, I'll see, I gotta think about it. Because I think the size 6, if I'm not mistaken, I measured it when it was still wet, so I don't know for sure. I think it added about 1/4 of an inch. So then I'd be 1/4 of an inch off of where I really want to be. And when you're every 22 stitches short 1/4 of an inch, those 1/4 of an inches really add up and they mess with your measurement. So I'd have to see how off it would actually be, and I think it may end up being too much. 7, I mean, it's not a bad fabric. I think it's just a little looser than I'd like it to be. If it ends up being bigger than what the pattern calls for, I will definitely do the US size 6. But it may be, you know, I don't know, I'll finagle it a little bit if I have to. But we'll see. The 7 is still a little, well, the 6 is mostly dry, it's slightly damp, and the 7's still damp. Like I said, it's kind of humid around here today, so I actually did those this morning, and they're not dry. I've had them, you know, laying out in my house all afternoon, all day, really, since probably 10 o'clock this morning, and I'm surprised that they're not dry. But did I talk about everything? I think that's everything I've been working on. So that's that. I am, you know, working on my list of what I'm knitting for whom, and I'm enjoying the fact that I'm hoping to get them done early so I can sit down and not be knitting to the last minute. Last year I wasn't too bad. But what happens when I do finish early with my planned out Christmas knitting is I wind up adding more to the list. So I'm still knitting to the last minute anyway, but we'll see what happens. But that is that. So I'm going to leave you guys all here, and I hope you have a lovely end to your weekend. If your kids are back in school like mine are, I hope that they are all loving it and you guys have a great year ahead. We started pre-K this year. My youngest started pre-K and he has just been loving it. He came home, he was getting ready for bed after the first day of school, and he goes to me, "Mommy, can I have another first day at school tomorrow?" I said, "Yes. Yes, you definitely can." So I'm just loving that he's loving it. My daughter started 6th grade this year, and 6th grade is going to be a lot of fun, I think. I went to her back to school night, and some of the books that she's going to be reading this year, she's really excited about. And they get to do the science fairs. It's going to be a big science project, and I love that. And that's it. That's what we got going on. So busy things around here, but now that they are back to school and things are normalizing slightly around here, not that it's ever normal, but I'm hoping to be able to kind of get back into a more regular routine of recording and talking to you guys, letting you know what I'm working on. So let's see if we can make that work. I'll see you. Bye. Have a great night. Bye.